You passed your luck check.
It's the no class, guys.
That means it's Eddie.
And Matt.
And today we're continuing our series of switching over from 5th edition to DCC.
Right on.
So you might be asking yourself at the beginning of your little journey here, how do I start my adventures?
How indeed.
And where do I go from there? How do I even level up a character in DCC?
Oh, wow.
So don't worry, we've got you covered. The first thing we're going to do is give you an adventure path that you can follow. So we'll talk about what is our funnel recommendation. So Matt, your path would start with
Brendan LaSalle's Hole in the Sky. This one he wrote in response to a buddy of his who said that he didn't even like the funnel concept. And so he took everything that guy complained about, and he with that in mind, he wrote Hole in the Sky. Hit so many great beats, covers a lot of bases, a really, really fun and definitely high fantasy, cool adventure. It's a great one. And what's your funnel, Eddie?
Mine is on the Harley Stroh path here, Sailors on the Starless Sea. So in this one, an ancient evil is arising again in the ruins, and the villagers are going to go out and stop it. And at the end of this module, you'll get into your longboats and washed out to sea. So that's what's going to tie it into the next one. But before we go into that, you've gone from 0 to 1 now just by getting one adventure under your belt.
One adventure.
So officially, by the book, how would you level up a character, Matt?
Good one. So I think it's around page 26 in the great, awesome DCC rule book. It talks about it takes 10 experience to get from 0 to 1. But most times people go, you played a funnel adventure, your first level at the end of it. So then in the book, it talks about having to have 50 experience points to level from 1 to 2. And you can look in the Legacy League rules, and it gives a point value for a lot of the published adventures.
Because the published adventures don't. There's no page at the end that says, and once you finish this adventure, it's worth 20 experience points.
Exactly.
So that's where the legacy play comes into play. Haha. And we'll put a link down here so you can look that up. Or you can kind of do the milestone thing, which tell them about that one, Matt.
Yeah. So on a number of different forums, like on the awesome DCC RPG Rocks on Facebook and other places, people had talked about doing a system that I incorporated when I ran a campaign, which was basically it takes one adventure to go from 0 to 1. So from going from 1 to 2 takes 2 adventures. From 2 to 3, 3 adventures. 3 to 4, 4 adventures. 4 to 5, 5 adventures. And then at that point, just stick at 5 per level. And that's a nice rule of thumb. That's just one of the many ways people have decided to stray a little bit from the book rules, because that's the great thing about DCC. You'll learn, make it your game, home brew rules, etc. Go for it. And I think you mentioned before.
Yeah, if you want to add some homebrew in between any of this, feel free to do so. If you make a little home base for all your characters to return to after every adventure, that's great. If you wrote an adventure and you see a way to tie it in there, do it. So most likely the best adventure that your characters are going to get is the homebrew that you've made up. But here is a path for you to follow if you don't have the time, the inclination, the energy, or the experience.
Absolutely.
You can check this out. So that leads us to the first level adventure in Matt's.
All right. So after the 0 level adventure, it's tough to pare it down. There's a lot of really great, well-written first level adventures for DCC. But one of the ones I really like is the Queen of Elfland's Son. And this kind of riffs off of the old fantasy book written like 100 years ago, which was the King of Elfland's Daughter. Haha. And it's Michael Curtis, which that's a name like Harley Stroh. You'll see a lot in the published adventures for DCC. Really great adventure. Basically, your characters are, have to go help the local villagers, and you go through a cavern and you end up in the borderlands of the elf land or whatever. It's really neat. Great adventure. Can't recommend enough. And what's your first level recommendation? Your first level.
So the first level for you will be Tower of the Black Pearl, which again, I'm on the Harley Stroh path, but really DCC has some of the best written adventures for any gaming series. It's always great, so you really can't go wrong. I'm just in on the Harley Stroh path for you. So in this one, you're already washed out to sea. and you hear tale of a mysterious tower that's going to rise from the sea for 8 hours. Can your PCs get in there, take the magic item that's within, and escape in that short amount of time? The mysterious magic item. So that's what I'm recommending to you next, and that's how we're tying it in. There's also a really cool scene on a jaggedy rope bridge that you can have a lot of tension with your players here. So I'll point that out to you as one extra little scene to try and ratchet up on your players.
Absolutely.
Now, what have you got on your next adventure that's going to take us up to level 2?
This was the one that will level you up. I'm recommending The One Who Watches from Below. It's a really neat adventure. Goodman Games had done a contest, and this was the adventure that won that contest and really started, Job down the path or whatever. But this adventure is really neat. It's got some really neat encounters, ways for different classes to shine, some cool loot, because kill the creatures, take the loot. And the big bad at the end is really wild. It's got a lot of neat beats. It's a great adventure. Absolutely.
And it's got an unusual method for players, for one particular player, right?
Exactly. If you've got more of a shy or bashful player, maybe they're newer to role-playing games or DCC, whatever, there's an element here. I don't want to give anything away, but it really makes this adventure stand out. It's unique, it's different, and it's a chance for those players to maybe play and interact and role play without putting them on the spot or maybe making them quite as nervous or something. So it's kind of a neat element there too.
And in my adventure path, since you're sailing on your ships, you could crash along the shore and end up in the Doom of the Savage Kings, where a ghostly hound is terrorizing a town. Will you be able to put a stop to it? And another way that you can tie this back into the Tower of the Black Pearl is if you've got that mysterious magic item, maybe there's some evil following it that has activated this ghostly hound again, or you can make that tie in so that there's a thread running through the whole thing.
Another Harley Stroh classic.
Yep.
So we're kind of like so this got you to second level, all the way from 0 to 2.
So if you have any questions, consider us your DCC help desk. Leave us some comments, leave us some questions right here, or you can hit us up at that email address,
noclassrpgpodcast@gmail.com.
You gotta love that. We'll see you in the next video. Continue your switch.
Right
DCC
on.
all the way.